This is a massive trade. I actually like, I want to say I like both sides, but I like the Lions end.
I think I get both sides. How about that?
Yeah, I get both sides, but I would take, I think it's good for both sides, but I would want, if you had to tell me you had to take one, I'm taking the Lions side.
Me also. But I mean, obviously, you know, the Rams they don't like Jared Goff. They got disillusioned with him. They had a horrible contract that they had to get out from under, and they had to pay to get rid of it, basically.
So what was all the deals of the what was the deal?
What was the deal?
Preface that, because we haven't even said what the deal was.
Okay.
Sure. Go ahead.
So Matt Stafford
We just said we liked it.
to the Rams.
Right.
That's it.
That was it.
That was
Matt
the only
Stafford.
piece.
Yep.
Jared Goff, now, and they both have, so Goff has 4 years left on his deal. Stafford has 2 at like 20.
But there is an
2
out
million.
after 2 years for Goff.
For Goff. So they're both essentially 2-year deals.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lions also got 2 first-round picks and a third.
So a third round this year, and then a first round
And
the following
22
year,
and
and then
23.
the year after that, 22 and 23.
Which is what they did because they had to give him an extra first to take on Goff's contract. Which is weird to me is like, people are talking like Goff is like a terrible quarterback because McVay actually opened things up for him in 2019, and they were a little bit more, you know, they threw the ball a little bit downfield, a little bit more than they did last year. Because last year they didn't throw anything
the
downfield whatsoever.
offensive line this past year was pretty bad there.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
They were beat up, and I think with a proper line in front of Goff and in a good system, he can be an operational quarterback. I mean, they took him. He took him to the Super Bowl, so I mean, we know what he can do in the right situation. But this past year just wasn't the best situation, I think.
Yeah, you're getting a quarterback for the Lions that is still really young. You didn't get an old guy. You get a guy that you can at least spend time. You're in a rebuild mode anyway, so you can invest. You have multiple first-round picks to invest in other players around Goff to see what you have. A former first-round pick who's took a team already to the Super Bowl under McVay's guidance. That's fine. Coaching, whatnot, players around you. As a quarterback, you were still in charge to go to the Super Bowl. You didn't win, but you still went to the Super Bowl and you got there. So you have Jared Goff, number 1 overall pick, went there, goes to the Lions. This is fantastic news for DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson owners. I would say it's also good news for Quintus Cephas, but he's the only receiver on the roster. So, but Jared Goff has like a 70% completion percentage. I saw this stat on Twitter to the tight end. DeAndre Swift, he loves to target the running back. Everything. He keeps everything short and sweet. You're bringing in Dan Campbell as a head coach from the Saints, who's going to run that kind of offense in Detroit. He already said he wants to move Swift into the slot. They're going to use him as a receiver. Hawkinson's already my number 2 overall dynasty tight end. That's how much I love TJ Hawkinson. He's my number 2 overall dynasty tight end.
Wow.
I would draft him in the startup ahead of Travis Kelce. Stafford goes to the Rams. He has a potential to be on a team that is finally good, right? He's dealt with 12 years of just mediocre coaching and mediocre talent around him. They finally get a good running back, and he's out of there. No receiver. Kenny Galladay is one of the best receivers he's had. Obviously, he had Matt Stafford or Calvin Johnson early, but he's never done anything. He's never won. He's never won a playoff game there. They get a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and even in fantasy quarterback, the highest Matt Stafford's ever finished as a fantasy quarterback is QB5, and that was 2011. He's finished a QB1 6 times out of the 12 years. He was a QB7 3 times, a QB5 once, a QB9, and a QB11. So only half of that has been solid. Now, going to the Rams, he's going to be in a really innovative offense. But do we know? Do we know if the Rams took a step back last year? Is the NFL catching up to Sean McVay? Is that a possibility? Either so, this gives McVay an opportunity to really open up his offense, right? The push the ball downfield. This is great news for Robert Woods owners. Great news.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
He's going to be the receiver that runs on the outside, and he's already a borderline wide receiver 1. Fantastic news for him. Stafford's going to have some of the best weapons he's ever had around him. Having Cooper Kupp, having Robert Woods, having Josh Reynolds and Van Jefferson, having Tyler Higbee, and having Cam Akers. I mean, this is a really good situation for Stafford. I think he will most likely finish as QB1 because we got to remember, too, back in 2019, which was just a year and a half ago, Stafford was on pace for a really good year before he hurt his shoulder in week 9.
He was on pace for like 5,000 yards or something crazy, wasn't he?
It was absolutely massive, man. He was 6th in points per game. I think he was averaging about 21.6. He was 4th in touchdowns in the league up to that point. He was 2nd in passing touchdowns. Like, he was just really thriving.
And I think the biggest thing even more so than all the weapons, which are awesome, is he gets to be with Sean McVay.
Right.
Like he gets to be with an offensive mind that's going to, we believe, get the best out of him.
100%.
And I think that's really the biggest boost out of all of it is going to be in that sense.
Absolutely. And I want to break it down and make it the simplest as possible. I mean, simplest as possible is I think Matt Stafford's a better quarterback than Jared Goff, and now he's going to a better situation. So I think you can expect, the highest he ever was top 5. I think you can expect him to reach his potential with Sean McVay and be a guy that is touching those numbers again, even though he's 33 or whatever. I don't know what year
33.
I don't know what year he was when he got to number 5, but
2011.
He still has plenty of talent and to get right back to that situation, even though that was 9 years ago or whatever that he was a top 5 finish, and now he's in a better situation. So I really do like that. As far as Goff goes, I mean, obviously it's a step back, I think, for him in offensive systems wise, because it's a little bit of an unknown exactly what they're going to run there in Detroit, but
the weapons around him.
I mean, yeah, and the weapons around him aren't as good. So the one person on LA that I'm kind of concerned about is Cooper Kupp. I'm not sure if he's going to be as needed as he was when Jared Goff was passing, throwing him the ball. Because like you already mentioned, Jared Goff did love to check the ball down and kind of operate a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, and that's where Cooper Kupp makes his hay. And so I guess we'll have to see exactly how much Matt Stafford still needs a guy like Cooper Kupp.
Do you guys think in a Superflex league, this is a good buy window for Jared Goff? Because I kind of feel that way. Like everybody's talking like, oh, this is just a placeholder. Jared Goff is like, people are talking like Jared Goff is just all of a sudden just an awful quarterback.
I don't think it's a placeholder. I think, the GM there now in Detroit was in LA when they picked. He wasn't the GM in LA, but he was in the front office in LA when they picked Goff first overall. So this is a guy that obviously likes Goff still, if he's willing to trade for him. And I think with all the other capital they got along with Goff, I think if he works out, it's icing in the cake. I don't think they're trying to move on from the guy. I think they'd like to make it work with him, but if it doesn't, they've got all these extra picks. You know what I mean? So it's...
Yeah, the other part of this, and they were talking about how much money they're taking on with the deal and all that stuff, but this is a rebuilding franchise.
Right.
They couldn't care less at this point, like what the situation is with the salary cap. They're not planning on contending anyway. If we have to spend money to get more draft picks, we'll spend money to get more draft picks because that money's not doing us any good in winning right now. So I think that's a big thing there. But on top of that, I'm not going, and this is a little bit on conspiracy theory side. I understand this, but there are teams out there like Washington, like Indianapolis, that could use a mediocre quarterback. I'm not convinced that they wouldn't even try to make another deal where we'll give you Jared Goff for a second. And just keep moving it down the line, keep acquiring more assets, because by the time that they are good enough for Jared Goff to be relevant, they have his out in his contract and they're probably going to move on.
I don't think the Lions have what they need. They have multiple first-round picks. They're young offensively in some key positions here. Like I said, good news for DeAndre Swift. I think DeAndre Swift is locked in as a running back one if he stays healthy this year. I think TJ Hawkinson's locked in as a top 3 tight end. If you want like a bold prediction, the number 1 fantasy tight end next year is going to be Travis Kelce, then TJ Hawkinson.
I mean, how many times are they going to be down in games? They're going to be playing from behind a lot.
Right.
They're going to have to check the ball down in passing situations to DeAndre Swift. Now, do you believe that the Lions could potentially take a quarterback in this draft? Because they do pick 7th. So
I wouldn't. Again, I would, if I'm the GM of the Lions, and I just made this bold move for Jared Goff, is I want to lease, like, if you take a quarterback there, then you're just washing Goff as it is. He has 2 more years guaranteed. You have multiple first-round picks later. Use that first, the better the team now. See how Goff acclimates with the new head coach, with the new GM, and his new teammates, and see what he has. If it doesn't work out, you have 4 first-round picks over the next few years to get another quarterback.
And for the record, that's what I meant by kicking the tires. Like, I feel like the Lions should kick the tires on Jared Goff and not move on from
100%. Yeah, I'm using it. Yeah. Who's the best offensive? This is a solid offensive line draft. They have some good players here. Who's the best offensive lineman I can grab here? who's the best defensive tackle? Who's the best player on the board. If I'm the Lions, we're bad enough, besides quarterback and running back, which you wouldn't take there, or Kyle Pitts, is who's the best player on the board? That's what we're taking. We're rebuilding this team. I'm building a winner. So yeah, I honestly think it would be foolish to take a quarterback because I don't think there's going to be any quarterback there at 7 that's better than Goff.
But they acquired all that extra draft capital. They could easily move up, 3-4 spots.